Hello and welcome to week 4 of 4 in the Green Foods Bible Study. I'm so grateful to be your co-host and guide us through this phenomenal book. And like every week, we have tons of information this week. So I want to jump into the info. But first, I just really want to acknowledge and thank Elizabeth for doing this with me. Thank you, Elizabeth.
You're welcome, Joy. Anytime. My pleasure.
Well, I'm going to take you up on any time because you're becoming one of Purium's favorite health educators. There's something about how you make it easy to understand that we all are appreciating. So We're going to continue on. We're talking about the new healthy fast food called Purium and green foods and super foods particular and green. But today we get to talk about red. I'm excited about that. So we're covering chapters 7, 8, and 9 tonight. And I'm going to spend a little time going back to chapter 6 briefly, but then we're right into the adventure of sea veggies, happen to be some of my favorite vegetables on the planet. As always, we'll be looking at the Purium products that contain the sea veggies or the red algae. We also get to talk about spiritual nutrition, which is something that Dave Sandoval covers in these chapters, cannabis, GMOs, and general recommendations for health. So as you recall, this has been a pretty intense and fast study of land and sea veggies, cereal grasses, microalgae, and we are now into the sea veggies. And we really dedicate this all to your radiant, healthy body. We are Purium promoters because we've known, we've seen, we've experienced, and we've witnessed people literally transforming their health. And in some cases on a very, very, very deep level through the power of green foods and whole plant nutrition. It's a very simple science, and it is a science. It's an intuitive art, but it really is a science, which is why it's so commendable that we're taking the time to read the science and the research and understand a little bit more about the green foods and Purium. Activated barley, we did talk about that last week, but I wanted to give it a little more of a highlight because this is one of the key products so many people love, especially athletes. And if you go on the website, you can learn more, you can click more information. But I just wanted to reach deeper and share some of this information. So this natural method of pre-sprouting the barley activates the nutrients and enzymes in the inner kernel, and that increases its energy potential by over 400%. So we know that sprouting, we've talked about sprouts before in this study group, but sprouting grain, and then, of course, our cereal grasses are a potent, amazing way to get nutrition. And in the standard American diet, people are so used to refined grains and noodles and breads. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a good carbohydrate that gives you a lot of energy. And it can be used to replace other flours in baking. So athletes and people working with athletes, please take note. So activated barley is a wonderful creation and recipe that goes way back to Greek and Roman physicians and times. And last week, Elizabeth talked a little bit about Rejuvelac and how you can take sprouted grain, barley, quinoa, wheatgrass, etc., and make a fermented beverage that gives you probiotics, which made us, Elizabeth and I, think about how it might be important for us to share that we also have a simpler way to take probiotics with Purium.
Yeah, and just personally, really quick, these are my favorite probiotics that I have ever had result in keeping me regular. I used to spend a lot of money on very high-end probiotics, and Purium's probiotics are really great. They're a potent, all vegetarian, synergistic, and shelf-stable blend of the most vital, friendly bacteria. So Dave has created a bacteria that actually get along with each other, and they don't fight with each other in our gut, which a lot of probiotic companies don't do. They may They repopulate friendly bacteria and therefore return the intestinal flora to a healthier balance. There's a nutritional assistance in the body's normal response to yeast. This is going to help the body fight yeast infections and candida, and it also may help prevent and reduce urinary tract infections. Also reducing bowel toxins, reduction of gas, bloating, and intestinal systemic toxicity. It's going to boost the immune system. 70% of our immune system is actually in our gut, in our belly, as well as it's an anti-cancer effect. A reduction in serum cholesterol and protection of liver function. It also helps athletes to reduce the amount of infections and to recover faster from infections than those who do not take probiotics. And this is according to a study published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. It provides nutrients and to the intestinal cells and enhancement of nutrient absorption.
Probiotics are a great thing to add. If you haven't tried them, put that on your wish list of what to order with Purium. And whenever we're working with people who have digestive issues, we just highly recommend adding probiotics and enzyme advantage. So let's talk about chapter 7, sea veggies, and so much to share about sea veggies. So as usual, we're just going to highlight a few things. But we know that sea vegetables have a tremendous effect on our longevity. The average Asian diet contains 25 times more sea veggies than the average traditional American diet. That's on page 134. And if you look at the Green Fruits Bible, just there's so much at play in terms of health and longevity and prevention, anti-aging, that comes from these incredibly rich sources of highly bioavailable nutrition. So we want to eat nutrition that the body can take in. We've been talking a lot about what are superfoods. Well, they're very, very dense nutritionally, and sea veggies are the same. So many minerals, these pigments, these different greens and purples. We're going to learn more about them, browns. But this is, the body craves this. And sea veggies have been traditional foods. Any oceanic, peoples, they go to the sea, not just for fish and animal life, but for the vegetables that naturally grow there. So from Scandinavia, Scotland, Ireland, Iceland, New Zealand, Australia, to the Pacific Islands, these diets all include and incorporate sea veggies. And so I love including them, and I am a big, big, big fan of many, many recipes. One of the Purium products that has sea veggies that I want to highlight is the enzyme advantage, once again for digestive health. So we talked about the probiotics. Well, what's unique about our enzyme formula is the kelp. And of course, we have all these different types of enzymes that are going to help with protein, fat, vegetable, milk, digestion, but also the kelp is a phenomenal sea veggie that really helps the body break down food, assist with thyroid levels, and just maintain better metabolism in general. Kelp is phenomenal, and it has a lot of minerals in it. What about the enzymes that I also wanted to highlight is, I love this statement, you are what you eat, but really you are more what you absorb. And we could eat really good quality nutrition all day long, but if we're not digesting it, breaking it down, and absorbing it into our system, we're not getting all of the wonderful benefits that food have to offer us. So we want to make sure that we have a good enzyme formula, especially as we age. And we know that enzymes are the catalyst, not just for digestion, but tons of different things, including immune function. So enzyme advantage, it's patented, it's shelf stable, and it's an incredible formula. It helps us assimilate our nutrients, and it can really help with allergies. And also we want to, remind people that when you take enzymes away from food, they're going to help break down inflammation and accumulation in the blood in general, because enzymes love to eat and break down anything in its way. So when you take them with food, they break down food. When you take it between food, it's always been, and for many years now, reported to support inflammatory issues. So enzyme advantage, that's basically what I said there. It is awesome. It's another one to put on your wish list. And I really am grateful for the addition of the kelp. So what other green and brown and black and red sea veggies are there? Arame, hijiki, nori, wakame, dulse, and I mentioned kelp. You can get these in health food stores, Asian stores, the Asian part of the grocery aisle. Recipes are in the book. There's incredible salads. If you haven't incorporated sea veggies into your diet, you can do that with Purium, and we'll tell you where and how. But you can also just do that in your life. I love taking dulse and tossing it in tropical oil from Purium, a little Celtic salt if you want, or lemon or cayenne, but making like chips, dulse chips. Consuming sea vegetables has been found to prevent the absorption of heavy metals as you ingest them. And I know, Elizabeth, you had some more specifics you want to talk about the benefits of sea veggies.
Right. Kelp contains alginates, which are high in fiber and very low fat component of seaweed. Alginates also are soothing and healing to the intestinal tract and promote peristalsis. That's a slow movement of our intestines that helps digestion. Kelp has also been billed as a weight loss aid, probably due to the fact that it can increase thyroid activity with naturally occurring iodine. The National Cancer Institute is studying ocean plants' anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antimicrobial, antifungal, and anti-cancer effects. Seaweeds are roughly categorized, like Joy was saying, in red, brown, and green. But many others are used medicinally, but all of them really share the same similar benefits, Joy. Also helps with good adrenal function. And then I wanted to just point out the Purium products that do have sea veggies in them. We're going to find more greens, so a little out of order here. Well, okay, I'm going to start with ionic. Is ionic elements on there?
Oh, sorry, I changed the slide, but go ahead.
Let me see here. We have Power of 10, which is a synergistic combination of green foods and herbs that have been used for centuries to fight the signs of aging. So Dave recommends using this product with apothecary. It's going to help protect against cellular oxidative stress, increase energy and vigor, support vascular function. Then we have the Best of Greens, which also has a sea veggie. And that's a synergistic blend also of greens from both land and sea. That's going to be a great source of chlorophyll, support natural detoxification, support healthy immune function, pH levels. Then we have the enzyme advantage. And Joy's mentioned that quite a bit. Promoting healthy digestion also has sea kelp in it. The Renew Hair, Skin, and Nails. Let's see what I have. We talked about the probiotics. And Renew Hair, Skin, and Nails does have the sea kelp. And that's going to be a proprietary blend of plants and herbs that provide essential fats, protein, and the nutrients that our body uses to rebuild specific collagen from the inside out. And then, of course, we have Virusure, which has red marine algae, which has numerous antiviral effects. And we're going to get our daily dose and our love, too. So I'm just going to introduce red algae here. And So algae is dictated by the climate, depth, region, and currents, also by its pigment. And just as we see purple cabbage and watermelons containing red chlorophyll, so do several species of RMA, red marine algae. And just as blue, green, and red pigments have differences in color, they also have different phytochemistry. So the red marine algae is antiviral. It is believed to be, and there's the red chlorophyll we're seeing. Algae is believed to be the oldest plant on Earth, and the colored seaweeds do exist antiviral properties. And Joy has this wonderful slide here because when we look at the beginning of the Green Foods Bible, we learned about phytochemistry, the plant's immunity that has developed over millions, sometimes billions of years. Well, guess what? Algae grew for billions of years in a wet environment where bacteria, viruses, and mold and other parasites were common. So literally, these sea vegetables have developed quite an amazing immunity. It's referred to as a pharmacological gold rush. And RMA, red marine algae, so it's custom, and Dave is also so wonderful at pointing out all of the scientific studies. And he points out that it's custom of the pharmacological industry to try and isolate and then chemically imitate specific chemical sequences that they discover within plants, such as red marine algae, in order to patent them and gain exclusive rights to sell them, typically at whatever price the market will pay for. However, the big pharmacological industry was unable to do so with red marine algae, which has very heavily journaled scientists and papers stating that it's antiviral, specifically for the family of viruses including chickenpox, herpes 1 and 2, shingles, and mononucleosis. So it seems that nature was too much of a powerful phytochemistry to reproduce on this one. And after considering the alternatives, the big pharmacological industry decided to abandon the project, despite millions of dollars spent on cultivation and research. However, Dave goes on to list all of the examples of scientific research, Joy. And there's so many studies. RMA, red marine algae, may also inhibit fusion between infected cells. And the isolated property we're looking at here is sulfated polysaccharides, which inhibits the step of viral replication. So this is meaning, remember how we talked about how viruses aren't really living, they need us as a host to replicate? Well, they can't do their replication process with these wonderful red marine algae and sea veggies. It's also an enhancing an antibody production. And according to research, using both red marine algae and chlorella together is a good way to reduce the impact of viruses on your life. Yes, so Celtic people have gathered red marine algae for centuries, dating back more than 2,000 years. Intensive research on algae, as Dave states, many families of red pigmented algae shows promise with the antiherpetic activity. And science is focusing on two strains, and that is the Demontia and the Giardia.
And I was going to just highlight how grateful I am that we have Sure, which is our complete immune support. This stuff has saved us and my family quite a few times. So it's highly recommended with Purium's Immunomax, but this is a proprietary blend of whole foods and herbs that support viral response. And of course it has the red marine algae. And there it is. And you mentioned this already, Elizabeth, how synergistic it works with spirulina. And then Dave has also added the neem extract, the olive leaf, which is very, very antiviral, and the oregano oil. So we talked about earlier, you can't treat viruses, and pharmaceuticals are at a loss. That's why this is big. This is like a big, big deal. We are going to be hearing so much more about red marine algae, I guarantee it, because it is one of the few things that's supporting people in not getting the colds and flus. And have this. It's an emergency formula. You definitely want to take it when people in your family or in your community are getting the cold, getting the virus. And number one ingredient is the red algae proprietary blend. Now we get to talk about astaxanthin. Oh my gosh, another just stellar treasure in the Purium line of products.
Yes, astaxanthin is the other Arame, the other red marine algae. Astaxanthin is an equilateral Haemococcus algae that survives in the warmest water on Earth, yet can be found in cold waters as well. The deep red pigment that processes sunlight year-round in high temperatures also protects the plant itself. If you check out shrimp, lobster, crabs, salmon, these deep red pigments come from a lifetime of eating this algae. This helps them to survive in cold waters, low sunlight, also in traveling to the North and South poles where they're exposed to high UV radiation. Astaxanthin is a natural sunscreen. I've heard Dave talk about this at the PHP Academy and on calls. And he writes, did you know that sunlight penetrates hair and clothes? And then did you want to mention this in the bio, Joy?
Yeah, well, I'm once again so proud of our bio line because it's internal and external. It's beauty inside out. And so want to spend a moment focusing on the internal aspects of having healthy skin. Before we had the bio, so many of us who had been doing Purium for a year were getting comments about our skin. I know I've been getting comments like, wow, you look good, you look younger. And I've been noticing just like wrinkles and stress, right? All these anti-aging benefits because I have been doing the super xanthan and I've been doing the greens. Well, now we can offer this to people with our bio and they can take the step 1 regen, which includes aloe and astaxanthin and some other, ingredients that really are natural sunscreen antioxidants. So it's not just what we put on our skin, it's what we put on our body that can protect us. Astaxanthin, of course, is great for eye health and reducing wrinkles. And on page 153, Dave talks about, how can it be that people's fine lines and micro wrinkles are going away or diminishing? And it's truly phenomenal. If you make a commitment to doing this product or our super xanthan, you will see a change. And it's a wonderful thing to do just to protect yourself so this doesn't happen to you. Just protect yourself because UV radiation can attack the skin cells in a variety of ways. They will the UV rays create oxidative stress, and astaxanthin is capable of reducing oxidative stress, which plays out in many ways. So here it is with just the spirulina. This is the other product of Purium. You can buy this in the sports fitness section, or you can buy it with, like I shared, the regen. Lots of things on the website, lots of things in the Green Foods Bible about astaxanthin. I mean, this is amazing. It reduces the number of new abnormal cells in the liver. It inhibits lipid peroxidation that causes plaque formation. So this is going to help us with cardiovascular prevention. So we go on and on and on. Hopefully you can read this slide or spend some time on the website, but we've talked about eyes and skin and UV rays. And what's cool that we're learning more and more about is it's also a game changer after exercise, helping to prevent, yes, the UV rays, but it is an amazing antioxidant. So antioxidants after exercise and for people who work out, this is how we prevent damage before it happens. Oxidative stress for hardcore athletes is a big deal. Our friend Darren Steen, who's a big promoter of Purium and a phenomenal trainer and weightlifter and award winner, he said he's been repairing his hip and inner thigh more in the last 3 weeks than he has in 25 years. And the difference is the Supraxanthin twice a day. He says, I cannot tell you how euphoric it feels to repair scar tissue and regain a limited range of motion in my hip without surgery or drugs. I love these kind of stories. I love these testimonials. I love the truth. I love people's lives changing. And Supraxanthin is a very recommended product for athletes and for energy.
Yeah, that is so true, Joy. I know Dave writes that weekend warriors and professional athletes alike are rejoicing in what he calls the discovery of recovery, which is due to the antioxidant and energy producing factors. I know for me, I love astaxanthin. I used to take it in the evening, and I was wondering why I had so much energy in the evening. Well, after studying astaxanthin, I learned about the energy producing factor. I now take it in the morning and save my energy for the morning. So this is going to increase endurance and muscle recovery time. And of course, increase energy production and the utilization on a cellular level, a very deep level with that, Joy. So it also is... So it's no wonder that modern athletes see astaxanthin as the antioxidant of choice. Not surprising, as astaxanthin has demonstrated an ability to reduce muscle damage, increase endurance through lipid metabolism. It also protects outer muscle tissue oxidative stress during physical activity. It also increases metabolism of fats, so you can have your fats, you're using your fats for energy as well. He also, of course, has a large amount of scientific, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies where we're seeing improved muscle performance, weight loss benefits, and accumulating lower levels of lactic acid.
So red algae, holy camole, sea veggies and red algae, lots of information in those sections and in that chapter. And I want to take a moment and highlight one of our wonderful Purium promoters. Here's a before and after picture of Lisa Schumacher, and I'm going to find you, Lisa, and highlight you. Here you are. You're getting pinned. If you want to unmute your audio and share a little bit about how Purium made a difference in your life, and we love hearing.
Yeah. Okay. I was introduced to Purium a year ago in last May, and I was about to go to my 35th college reunion. So I wanted to see if it would help me out there. And I lost 7 pounds in 10 days. And I continued to do the transformation. I lost a total of 13 pounds. I went down 2 sizes. And the picture that Joy showed, there was a picture when I was 30 pounds heavier. It was taken in Sedona. And I still had that shirt. And I had the same style pants. And I had a friend take a picture wearing the same shirt so I could see the comparison. For me, it's a godsend, yes. So the picture on the left is in Sedona in 2009. And the picture on the right was taken in March. So, and I always carried an extra 20 to 30 pounds from the time I was in high school. And I did Weight Watchers. I ran marathons. I did long distance cycling. I was always active, but I could never get below a certain weight, no matter what I did, until I did Purium. And then I broke that barrier and I reset my metabolism. And I'm just grateful. It really, really works. And I will tell you, I went to a conference 3 weeks ago. One of the faculty members there has known me 10 years, hasn't seen me for a year. She said, "You look great." And I said, do you want to know what I'm doing? And I gave her the information and I showed her those pictures. And when she got home, she ordered the transformation. She became a Purium Lifestyle Club member. And last night they picked my name and I got a convention ticket. So
there's so many blessings, aren't there? I'm so excited.
It's been a very lucky week.
I like what you said, and I really want to highlight it, that the barrier was broken and you shifted your metabolism because of the 10-day transformation. So the super aminos, which isn't really part of the Green Foods Bible, but also just bringing the quality green nutrition into your diet and your lifestyle. Were you hungry during the transformation? Has your cravings changed? Yeah.
It gets easier. I'm doing my 10th transformation now. And I really am not hungry. And sometimes I'm a massage therapist, and I go all day. And I have maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And I bring the shakes with me and my aminos. And I feel satisfied. I'm not starving. I take it on long distance trips when I have to drive, because there are no good options on the highway. So I keep a cooler and I just mix it up. And I'm so grateful for all the products, and I keep trying new ones. And it makes me want to go into my cabinet and take my red green algae and, take them all.
Any tips for people who are starting a transformation to get set up mentally or emotionally to do it?
I was really focused on just following the plan, and I knew that there was support, and I just had faith in the process. I think just following what they tell you to do, it's so simple. It's the easiest way to lose weight I've ever experienced, and without all the frustration. Because it took me I lost 20 pounds on Weight Watchers, took me a year. And, incremental, when I was running 12 miles, I would hardly lose anything. So this was wonderful. And I've mentioned before, one of my clients did this. He lost 23 pounds in 10 days.
Yeah. So you were kind of on the yo-yo cycle, going up and down, trying different things. And now with Purium, it's been a little over a year. Your weight is stabilized. Is that about right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm actually pretty amazed that it has reset, because I'll get on the scale and I'm sure it should have gone up, 5 pounds or so. And it hasn't. So something has reset. And I'm really happy about that.
Wow. Thank you. That's so inspiring. Really appreciate you sharing. And congratulations on your free ticket to the Purium convention. Yeah. All right. So conscious eating and spiritual nutrition. This is Gabriel Cousins. He's referred to in this next part of the Green Foods Bible. And I love this chapter as well, because it makes us think about not just what we eat, but how we eat, and not just the nutritive value of our food, but the bioenergetics. And there is energy in everything, and that's what spiritual or energy nutrition is all about. If you haven't read anything by Gabriel Cousins or know him, he's got the Rainbow Diet, he's got Conscious Eating, and he has the Tree of Life cleansing facility down in Patagonia, which I was grateful to be able to see in the very, very early stages. So he is a doctor. He's a doctor and a proponent of superfoods, green foods, a colleague of David Sandoval's, and a big pioneer in this field called spiritual conscious eating. But he's not the only one. There's some others as well. So we want to spend a little time just focusing on the spark of life that we find in food.
Right. So like Joy was saying, Dr. Gabriel Cousens, I'm just going to say a little quote of his real quick that Dave points out. When we eat in a healthy, harmonious way, our ability to attune and commune with the divine is enhanced. And Dave goes on to point out Gabriel Cousens' work in SOEFs, subtle organizing energy fields. Dr. Gabriel Cousens' work on this is rooted historically, culturally, spiritually, scientific, dating back thousands of years. Its example, Chinese science of acupuncture, is based on the meridians or energetic pathways, which have been mapped all over the body. Along these meridians travel the subtle energy of qi. In Ayurvedic India, we use the word prana to describe subtle energies. With Kirlian photography, which what we're seeing here, these SOEFs, subtle organizing energy fields, we see an organic piece of broccoli has a more brilliant field than a conventionally grown apple.
And here's a pea pod, but this is Kirlian photography, which is a science as well, because there's a lot of science around energy. I mean, we call it quantum physics and many, many things, but the photographic technique is used to capture this phenomenon of electrical discharges. And Kirlian photography has been the subject of mainstream scientific research and parapsychology research, as well as art. Here's a couple other photos I found online. And once again, we're looking at the difference between organic and commercially grown foods. And in this case, it's a tomato. So look at that life force. All we're talking about is unseen energy. This is a Kirlian photography of my father and I. And it's an app. You can buy Kirlian photography apps, but it actually can capture the energetic exchange between people or individuals. Some of us call it an aura. And every color has a unique signature. And so we know that connection with other people. I find this really interesting, how much love and healing is between my dad and I, but also this profound blue. It's almost like he's sharing knowledge with me. That's how I interpret this. But unseen energy is now a large part of new science and new medicine. And so we know that homeopathic medicine, I talked about bioenergetics, we talk about gem essences, flower essences, spending time in nature, people see or feel. We always get these sensations through art. And probably the easiest way for us to make tangible this unseen energy is just each of us have a memory or an experience, and hopefully daily, of feeling love. And we know that feeling. We can't always see it, but we know that feeling. If you've seen the movie, there's a few movies now that are highlighting, I'm trying to remember the names, but anyway, food and how you make your food, how you manufacture your food. The love and the intention you put into it can absolutely affect the people who are eating and digesting and assimilating it. And that's something else I really truly appreciate about Purium is the values, the community, the sourcing of the products, the family farms, the manufacturing facility, and the employees. There's a strong intention of goodness and good deeds that are all a part of this product line. So lots of new frontiers. In fact, I'm going to go back real quick here, Elizabeth, if you wanted to say anything about this slide before we move on.
Oh, sure. Dr. Curvan. So Dave does quote quite a bit from Dr. Curvan's work. He was a French scientist. Biological Transmutations is his book. And in this book, they actually, we find out that living organisms, humans and plants, actually manufacture and synthesize their own vital nutrients when they're not available in their environment. And Dave also writes, old-time organic farmers know that a plant makes the soil. It has been said that organic farming is really about soil preparation. The weeds that grow in fields are rich that the soil requires. So when there's weeds growing in a lawn, our lawn needs that calcium. And where do the weeds get that calcium? They actually manufacture it. The science also shows this with chickens and the grain that they consume, and the eggs, the chickens that they hatch, have more calcium than what's available in their food, also with crab shells. And then when we go on to Fritz Albert Popp, who's another he's also a doctor, author, researcher from Germany, who actually developed the method of measuring life force that he calls biophotonic emission testing. And now this is taking Kirlian photography to the next level. He began his research confirming, first of all, the existence of biophotons, which are electromagnetic waves emitted by organisms, which can be measured by sensitive modern equipment. Dr. Popp found Dr. Fritz, Albert Fritz, found that this phenomenon is common in all cell forms, and that if they are healthy, they emit more than they do when they're in an unhealthy condition. And Dave writes, this is a powerful tool for investigating and understand the quality of food and environment. Medical marijuana report. And this is interesting that Dave brought this up. This was kind of a mind blower for me. I had no idea on any of this. But Dave writes, whether you agree or disagree with the legalization of medical marijuana, or you're just not sure, he points out it's time to talk, review, debate, and explore. When did it all begin? What are the options being presented? Who's most likely to benefit from this form of medicine, and what could be the repercussions? So strictly speaking, cannabis is a genus of flowering plants that includes 3 different species. We have cannabis sativa, indica, and ruderalis. On the other hand, hemp is a commonly used term for the high-growing varieties of this plant, which are mainly cultivated for the fibrous material edible parts, which are seeds and oils. The cannabis plant hosts a complex variety of chemical compounds. Those phytochemicals we were talking about, for example, cannabis contains 483 compounds identified, and these are termed cannabinoids, and it turns out that they are found nowhere else but in this flowering plant family. So the cannabinoids, the high that one experiences from consuming marijuana comes from 2 of those cannabinoids, which are CBD and THC. CBD is going to actually block the effect of THC, interestingly enough, but a relatively high CBD ratio is going to be more sedative, whereas THC will have more of a cerebral high. Dave goes on to write, can cannabis cure cancer? Well, there are licensed growers developing more CBD-rich strains. In November 2012, an Israeli medical cannabis family announced they have a new strain of plant, which the only active ingredient is CBD. It's also patented. And historically, cannabis is believed to have originated in the mountainous regions of the northwest of the Himalayas. Also, it's considered endemic to Central and South Asia. Cannabis sativa grows naturally in tropical humid parts of the world. It's documented in archaeological finds throughout the world. It dates back far as 2900 BC. And the Chinese Emperor Fu Huishi is known to quote that cannabis possesses both yin and yang. By 200 BC, the cannabis combined with resin was a popularly used anesthetic drug during surgical procedures. It's also believed that the anointing oil in the Old Testament, in the Old Hebrew version, is recognized to be cannabis. Also in Egypt, it's found for the treatment of glaucoma, inflammation, cooling of the uterus, administration of enemas. In India, it's used as anti-phlemetic, antiseptic, can boost mental abilities, judgment, promote longevity. In the ancient Western civilization, earliest records of cannabis used by the Greek historian Herodotus, 400 BC, refers to the Scythians' tradition of taking cannabis steam baths. The Greeks were using marijuana as a remedy for earaches, edema, and inflammation. Another army doctor of Rome, Pedenius Dioscorides, states that the plant, he was using it for gout, cramped joints, muscular pain. It's also noted that our first presidents, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, grew what they called hemp back then, but was actually marijuana. So hemp or marijuana came to the Atlantic, across the Atlantic to the North America in 1611. In Europe, Napoleon brought marijuana from France after his invasion of Egypt. We also have a British medical doctor using marijuana to treat such ailments as muscle spasms, menstrual cramps, rheumatism, convulsions, tetanus, rabies, epilepsy. You also used to promote uterine contractions during childbirth. And it wasn't until 80 years ago, up until 80 years ago, America was considered a medicine and was on the United States Pharmacopoeia list, and it was patented, and we were selling it in tinctures for cures of neuralgia, tetanus, alcoholism, opiate addiction, menstrual bleeding, excessive menstrual bleeding, insanity, uterine bleeding. And at this point, Dave does go into quite a bit of why the laws and politics changed. So if you want to research that, you can. But basically, no one has been able to research it. Independent research studies have not been able to be conducted on it since the 1930s and a little bit before that. But today, we can find that doctors in the University of San Francisco and the hospital there are actually juicing marijuana. They're using the living plant without heating it to have effects on the body in a positive way. And they're finding anti-inflammatory benefits, bone metabolism, neural function, also an inhibiting cancer growth. But like Dave points out, the research has been limited on that, partly because of the big pharmacological industry, again, wants to patent things and sell them, which they haven't been able to do with marijuana. So it was quite a mind blower for me. It seems like quite a big superfood.
It's a super green food. And which Purium Products is it in?
There they come.
None, but let's wait and check back in a few years, because you never know. The more research we're doing and new strains are coming out that have less of the psychological effect and more of the pain reduction. We're definitely, this is up and coming, and I'm glad he included it. I learned so much in this part of the book as well. He goes on to talk a little bit more here at the end of the book about general health recommendations, GMO, and soil. So we're going to whiz through some highlights before we close out tonight. A couple things that I found helpful reminders: eat organic and eat as close to the earth as possible. So, we talk about local farmers markets. Yeah, definitely get whole foods. It can be really, really simple with Purium superfoods and whole foods. You're going to have nutritional support and a healthy lifestyle and longevity. Very important. Eat slowly and chew. And take your enzymes. That'll help you digest as well. But digestion starts in the mouth and our saliva. And we actually release enzymes right there. The more we break down the food at the beginning, the better. So this is something I remind myself a lot. Chew, or you can blend foods too. If you're having some issues with your digestion, that's another reason I love Purium. It's easy to assimilate, but for people who are doing flex foods or veggies and sauteing, you can always puree your soups and your veggies. Don't overeat. Eat until you're 80% full. We don't always notice our satiation signals early on, so stopping sooner and retraining ourselves. And like Lisa was sharing how she reset her metabolism. Well, I think that when we do the 10-day transformation, we also reset our hunger levels and signals. And be thankful and appreciate the food that nourishes us. And that goes back to the energy of food, and that we literally can affect the energy of our food and our life by being grateful. It digests more easily, and we want to make sure that we do that. Many people who are part of Purium and a lot of health enthusiasts are turning toward vegan or plant-based diets. We do have some paleos as well, but it's worth talking about protein. So when you're doing protein, it's best consumed in the morning. We want to combine it with greens, not carbohydrates. This is proper food combining, which is a science of itself, but it's back to the enzymes. You know, there are different enzymes that break down different food sources, from proteins to fats to carbohydrates and sugars. And the body, in the intestines, in the stomach, it needs to produce different enzymes to digest foods. Foods will just sit and ferment if they're not combined properly. So any protein is best with greens. Avoid burnt, crispy parts of meat. They're carcinogenic. If you are going to eat traditional meat, fish, poultry, go for grass-fed beef, free-roaming chicken, wild-caught, definitely hormone-free dairy products, and free-range chickens is so important, especially for eggs as well. And eat less, no more than 6 ounces of protein, to avoid creating uric acid and harming the kidneys. So this is also a good time to talk about our super aminos, which is part of the 10-day transformation and is an amazing pre-digested superfood that we carry that gives us the building blocks of protein, and it's 99.9% net nitrogen. So we're not even going through the kidneys. We're getting right away in 23 minutes, 20 minutes, quick absorption of the amino acids. He talks a bit too about GMOs, and he added quite a bit more in the new version of the green foods, didn't he, Elizabeth?
Yeah, he did. And he mentioned something that I hadn't known about the GMO project before, is that ribosome, which is the secret of organic soil. And that's nitrogen. Every plant needs it to grow. A lot of plants, you need a lot of nitrogen. In organic agriculture, it typically comes from an amazing synergistic relationship between a parasitic soil organism and the alfalfa plant. And those are called ribosomes. And this is a low-cost key to organic farming. And any threat to organic alfalfa is a threat to organic agriculture itself. And since these roots can travel as deep as a 4-story high building, this alfalfa can access nutrients that aren't available in the topsoil. And the ribosomes attach themselves, build colonies on the root systems, of the alfalfa, and this absorb nitrogen while they're alive, and they release the nitrogen when they're decomposing. But however, alfalfa is a perennial, and it makes it very vulnerable to cross-pollination by genetically modified alfalfa, which has recently been approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Any threat to organic alfalfa is a direct assault on organic agriculture, and it must be stopped.
So much to learn always, which is what is a big thing that we love about Purium, is we're really all about training calls, classes, and events. And our big announcement tonight is this Green Foods Bible program is now available as a self-study program. So you have been listening to either that self-study program or you're on the call live, but go to choosepurehealth.com and you can click on the health education Green Foods Bible Study, and once a week you will be sent a video. So if this was beneficial to you, you can share it with other people by having them go to Choose Pure Health, and they can take a look at what we're doing and learn more about Purium. So it has been quite a series, Elizabeth. Once again, I'm grateful. Anything you wanna add before we close out tonight?
Oh my gosh, the Green Foods Bible. I mean, just from the forward, how accredited the doctor is, and how much scientific studies are in there, and learning about the phytochemistry. There was never a letdown around each new page. There was like a new adventure for me. We always get to hear about, meat, potatoes, and dairy, what those do for your body, but we never get to hear about what chlorella and kale do. So it was awesome.
It's the new food pyramid. Just eat greens, drink greens, and reds and yellows and purples.
Yes.
Yeah, so wide array of chlorophyll available to our bodies, and feel free to review all this material, share it with other people. You don't have to remember it all, because I know I sure don't, and I'm actually facilitating. But what I do know is how it feels in my body. So if you can take away and walk away with that by using Purium in your life, doing superfoods, you're going to make a difference in preventing dis-ease and supporting longevity, feeling good, losing weight, and just having more and more and more optimal wellness experience, and on an emotional level as well. So I'm going to close out the recording. Thank you all for sharing a wealth of information with many, many, many people. And I'll open up for Q&A here in a moment. So thank you.